for DIY with Helmet for Life. I'm not responsible for my actions or your actions. Please do at your own risk.
Alright, so here's my SJ4000 SJcam that I've modified with the external microphone jack. First thing you need to do is remove your battery cover and your battery. The reason why I'm doing this video is because I'm replacing, I originally put in a mono jack, 3.5 millimeter mono jack, and most microphones have stereo jacks on them. So I figured I'd go ahead and make a video of how I did it. And so the first thing you need to do is remove the front cover. I used a guitar pick to do this. Just go in between the cover and wiggle the pick around and pop the tabs out. It should come off pretty easy. Alright, so next you need to remove some small Phillips screws using a precision screwdriver. I use a Harbor Freight item 97517. It contains flat Phillips torque bits. Kind of a handy set to have. There are 8 screws, 8 Phillips screws need to remove this front cover. Just remove them and set them to the side. Didn't really realize how fast I was on these, taking these screws out. That's pretty quick. Once you've removed these 8 screws, this top piece comes out pretty easy. All you have to do is, on this power button, it is held by a couple plastic pins. It's just to get underneath it and remove it. You just need to get it underneath the board and pop it straight up. If you got fingernails, you can use fingernails. If not, just use some tweezers, like I did. Just be gentle. Be gentle. Alright, so this top cover should pop straight up. Not a problem. And you can see my microphone jack and the 2 wires running from it, and how I routed the wires around the lens. Give you a little idea about that. And I forgot to mention, if there's an SD card, make sure you remove that. I don't know why, I forgot. Alright, next part, I'm using a razor blade, so do not cut yourself. You just need something really thin to get in between this protective plastic lens. It's just held on with some sticky tape. But I use this because it's thin enough to get in between. Just kind of pick at it, and you should be able to bend it up slightly, and don't go very far with the razor blade so you don't scratch up your screen. But once you get it in there just a little bit, I used a guitar pick to go in between it. I've got to move this razor blade a little bit further. You could do it all with the razor blade if you wanted to, but I'm not going to take a chance of scratching my screen up. So go ahead and go around the corner with it, and then I'll use my guitar pick to remove the rest of the protective screen. Alright, that was pretty easy. Just set that to the side. Sticky side up so it doesn't stick to anything. Now, let's see here. Now you need to get the screen pulled back. And again, I'm using a razor blade because I don't have any fingernails. Just be careful, there's a ribbon cable in behind this on the bottom. And there's kind of the inside of it. There's a jack or a plug-in port. There's two different kinds of these jacks. Mine happens to be the new one, where you can take your fingernail and it kind of swings down. Trying to get this in focus. As you can see, it hinges down. It's actually got a spot for your fingernail. This is the first one of these I've actually seen like this for the ribbon cable. A lot of the older ones have, has a picture of it. That's in the closed position, and the entire piece pops up. Closed, it's open. Now you can take the ribbon cable out. Alright, so now you need to remove the board, and you need to take your index finger and press outward on this case, and slowly and very gently press on the top of the USB jacks. You have to press pretty hard with your finger to bend out the plastic to get these jacks not to hit. But once you do, just take your time with it. As you can see, the ports are loose from the plastic case. Try not to pull on the lens. I'm just gently rocking the board and everything. Take your time on this. I'm doing this video with a screen attached just so you can, just to prove that you can do it. When I was doing this video, I thought it was the old style ports, and I tried to remove the screen, and I just left the screen in. I didn't want to really mess anything up. But it's going to be easier to remove the screen, either the old style or the new style plug-in. It's just easier, but I'm just showing you can do it. Just take your time. I mean, I'm really taking my time on this, making sure I'm not pulling on anything that shouldn't be pulled, and just take your time on it. It'll come out. But yeah, if I had to do over again, I would remove the screen and just lay it to the side. You can see on the top of the board where I have my positive and negative leads, my connections to the jack. On the top of the board, I use some heat shrink and some hot glue to hold everything in place. Trying to show the bottom of the board where the solder connections are. Alright, so here's a picture of the microphone, the round disc there. Here's the back of the board where the two solder connections come out. And that's where you unsolder the microphone and remove it. Or you can stick a small screwdriver underneath and just pry it off and leave the two pins attached. It's easier to solder wires to by leaving the two pins. But here I'm removing my old jack. Like I said before, originally I put a 3.5mm mono jack. That's what I had. But most microphones already come with a stereo jack. So it's just going to be easier to connect future microphones since they all use stereo jack connections. Here's the new one I'm going to be putting in. The long pin at the bottom would be your ground, and the two short pins at the top would be your left and right channels. The SJ4000 is just a mono audio. So since this is a stereo jack, you need to bridge a wire in between left and right to make your left and right channels mono. You could use a piece of wire like I'm doing here. If those pins are long enough, you can actually touch them together and solder them together. I'm just taking a piece of wire that I had in bridging your left and right channels together. Your black side of your microphone from the board will go to your negative side, and your positive would go to your left or right. You could actually just solder to the left and it would work fine, but I'm going ahead and solder the two connections together. So for me, it's time to put everything back together and see if it works. Being careful not to hurt anything, not to hit anything. Just be very, 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 very careful. And all you gotta do is put everything back together and hope and hope and hope and it works. But yeah, once you push everything back together, the USB ports should line up and pop in. Make sure all your screen is clean and everything else is clean, and just put everything back together and hope it works. Did for me, may not for everybody. Alright, so I hope this video is informative enough for you. I got everything put back together, snapped together, battery back in, cleaned off, SD card. Please power up. Come on, come on. Good to go. Hopefully good to go for you. If you got any questions, just let me know in the comments below.